But how do you know the rules?
They relied on the instructor to tell them the rules. Why
The instructor has to tell the rules?
Yes.
Wow. What happened if the person get into the accident?
You mean the driver?
The driver. Because you're saying that if I don't know the knowledge of the rules of the road, how can I be behind the wheel? Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today guys, I have Ola from UK. He's a driving instructor for almost 10 years. That's what he said to me.
That's correct.
He looked at probably on YouTube and he saw my videos and he contacted me and said he also have his YouTube channel that he is planning to run in UK. And he asked me if I would like to meet with him and we can do a mock test, similar to what they have on UK, but there is a totally different driving, right? We have different driving experiences, right?
Correct.
Let's talk about UK first, and then I will say about the Ontario driving in Canada. So, Ola, go ahead, my friend.
Hello guys. So yes, just to pick you up from what Alex stopped, like he rightly said, the rules are different. In the UK, we drive on the left side of the road. The wheels is on this side, and in Canada, I already see it, they drive on the right side of the road, and they have a lot of different rules, which I'm hoping that I can get the hang of. So yeah, Alex.
So in UK, most of what I was watching on the video, you have roundabouts, right?
Correct.
In Ontario, you don't have that. Most of the cities, like big cities like Toronto, for example, we don't have roundabouts, right? So we have, most of the time, we have the like our intersections, we have a stop signs. We have a always stop sign and we have a one-way stop sign. So you need to be more careful, because now there is a car coming from the for example, on the always stop. What do you need to do, right? You need to stop, you need to check, and who come first can go first, right? There's no right away, right? Do you have that?
We don't have always stop sign in the UK. What we have, which is the most common sign when there is no traffic light, is what we call a give way sign. So stop sign.
It's like a yield sign, right?
U sign.
U sign. We have a yield sign. So for
yield. Yeah,
yes,
that's it. I know yield.
That's called a yield sign.
Exactly. Yes. But we do have a stop sign in the UK. But these stop signs, you say you get that maybe 10% of the time at junctions, and those junctions are classified as a dangerous junction. That's why the stop sign is there.
Okay.
So when you get to the stop sign, assuming you're doing your driving test and you don't stop completely at the stop sign, you're going to fail the test for that
singular. You fail the test automatically.
For that singular reason.
Do you have in UK turning right on the red light when it's safe?
No chance.
No chance.
No chance.
So there is no right turn.
So I'll tell you what is similar to that when it comes to right turn in the UK. When you're about to turn right at a traffic light, and you have to wait for oncoming vehicle, you're allowed to stay in the middle of the junction. So sometimes whilst you're waiting for a safeguard to make that right turn, the light could turn to red, which is your last resort. So when it turns to red, because you've already crossed the stop line, okay, you are allowed to go quickly. In about 2 seconds, you make that turn.
Now, do you have on the traffic lights that you can creep up to the center and wait until you have a clear when you can turn left?
Yes, we do.
You do have
that,
right?
And so we have 2 cars allowed to wait in the middle doing that.
We have a 1 car at the time. So 1 car is there, and then after this, so you have like big intersections. That's a wide intersection. That's why you can pull 2 cars.
Not necessarily so. In UK, generally the roads are very small.
Okay.
So I've seen the roads in Canada already. They're like 3-4 times the roads in the UK.
Right. That's wide, right? You have a very narrow roads compared to our roads.
Very, very.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what else would you say that you've been driving here? You took a rental car. You've been trying to explore.
Yeah.
Do you feel the difficulties when you're driving?
I don't feel it's difficult to drive. It's just that I have to be very alert, very conscious of what I'm about to do. I mean, I have to respect the fact that this is not UK. I'm driving on the other side of the road. Rules are slightly different. So I'm very active, very, shall I say the word, concentrating on focusing on the road and focusing on the hazard, because at the end of the day, Driving is all about taking care of the hazards safely so you can get to your destination safely. Yeah. So I take it to be a friendly challenge, if you like.
You feel that, right?
That's what I
Now,
feel.
let's talk about the program that you have in UK as a new learner. What the new learner has to do to achieve the first driving license? Do you have 2 tests? Do you have 1 test? How the system in UK works? And then I will say, what is the system in Canada?
That's a very good question. So in the UK, I believe from the age of 17, you're allowed to take what we call the provisional license.
It's like we have a G1 knowledge test, right? That's a provisional license.
So the provisional license is not a test. It's a license that allows you to even get behind the wheel in the first place.
Okay.
As a learner.
So that's what we have in Canada. We have in Ontario, specifically here in Ontario, we have a G1 license. G1 license is allow you to sit behind the wheel, but also you're learning the signs. So when you pass that G1 test, you're allowed to drive.
So the G1 test is just like
it's a knowledge test.
Oh yeah, so you have to sit on the
That's right.
on the
You're
computer.
in the computer. You have you have the questions about. So in Canada we have 20 questions on the signs and 20 questions is a road rules.
Right.
What about you guys?
So in UK, that's slightly different because when you take or when you apply for your provisional license, as long as you pay for it and you've filled the declaration, you get the license. You don't have to sit for the what you call the knowledge test. We call it theory test.
Okay.
You don't have to sit for that. Actually, some learners, they're already at intermediate level even before they open their book on the theory to prepare for it.
But how do you know the rules?
They relied on the instructor to tell them the rules. Why
The
they're
instructor has to tell them the rules?
Yes.
Wow. No, here we have a different approach.
No, shall
Here-
I say one more thing before you come in? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they're also allowed to learn to drive with their parents or family or friends,
Okay.
even without coming to the instructor. So
Okay.
what the provisional license is saying, you're saying that whatever I do when I'm driving, I'm legally responsible for it. So if you want to go and, read your, what we call highway codes, which tells them the rules, tells them about the signs and meanings of those signs, by all means you can before you start learning to drive with your family or friends. So the government really don't care how you learn it or when you learn it. But what really matters is that whatever you do behind the wheel, you're solely responsible for it. With penalty, the point, disqualification, you'll be liable for such if you do anything wrong.
So what happened if the person get into the accident?
You mean the driver?
The driver. Because you're saying that if I don't know the knowledge of the rules of the road, how can I be behind the wheel?
So if I'm to speak on behalf of the government, which I'm not allowed to, but
Yeah.
let me use my common sense in this regard.
Right.
So I believe the government expects you to learn the rules. The government expects you to go and sit for the theory test first. I believe.
Yeah.
But I don't
That's
think
what our government does.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
before you are sitting behind the wheel, you have to have a knowledge. And of course, you open your own book or you are trying to do the test online, but at least you know. Let's say your student, your learner, right? He is driving with you and he doesn't know the speed limit. He has to rely on you.
yes. Because this is why. If someone comes to me as a beginner, I don't only teach them. I think this is why I said to my learner, I wasn't trained this way, but from my 10 years experience, I have developed different style of teaching. But what I say to people now is, even though you go for your practical test, that if you pass, you get your full driving license. What you would do at that point when you get the full license, what you have to do to get the full license, there are two things. One, you have to prove to the examiner that you know the knowledge about the rules and regulation, which is the highway code concerning to traffic in UK. Number two, you can apply those rules correctly. The third level they're looking for is, have you got the knowledge? Yes. Can you apply it? Yes. Now the third level is, can you apply it at the appropriate timing? Because sometimes you do the right thing, but if it's too late, you can still fail your test.
Oh my.
So-
This is totally, guys, I'm telling you, they have a different rules
Altogether.
in altogether, right?
Altogether.
So the person that comes to you, he will be with zero knowledge.
It can be. It doesn't have to be.
No, but for example, in your experience with 10 years that you were teaching, somebody comes to you, nothing knowing about the driving?
No idea whatsoever. In fact, they are too eager to want to get behind the wheel. They're too eager to want to drive, not to read for the theory or for the knowledge.
So you must be spending an hour or 2 hours just explain the rules in the car just before you start even moving.
Not necessarily so, depending on the topic. If it's your first lesson,
Right.
and it's 2 hours long lesson, you're probably
Okay.
going to spend a good half an hour talking about, we call it DSSM, we talk about POM, you can talk about MSM. But the way I go
Can you
about,
explain about that MSM? What does it mean exactly?
okay, so the first one I will talk about when someone gets into the car and they're very entirely new.
Okay.
I would first check with them if they know anything.
Okay.
Maybe by way of, I sit next, for example, if you're not a driver, you would have been a passenger.
Okay.
And sometimes it could be a curious passenger asking someone driving next to you, maybe your mom, your friend, what's that? Why did you do that? So I would check with them if they know anything. So I don't have to feed them what
Also,
they already know.
before they even touch the steering, you tell them where is the clutch and where is the brake.
I will ask them, what do you think that thing is?
Okay.
What do you think that is?
So if they reply to you, then you know that they
They
practice.
know.
Okay.
Or I will know at least
So
they
you're
have.
guessing.
I'm guessing. So I don't want to teach them because I want to make sure they get the best value for their money. So why teaching them what they already know?
Okay.
So I'll figure out what they know.
And what if somebody comes to you and said, I know how to drive?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
That's
if
fine?
he said to me, you know how to drive,
Yeah.
I would say to them, can you drive on this road? Because in UK, we tend to go and pick them up from their address.
Okay.
So I said to them, can you drive from this road?
Okay.
When they said they would know how to drive, before that question, I asked them, how long ago have you driven? They'll tell me. Maybe a week ago. How many hours roughly have you had privately or with an instructor? They will tell me. And I said, okay, have you driven on a road like this before? If they said yes, okay, that's fine. How are you comfortable driving on this road? They'll say, they're fine. Then I said to them, with me, I'm fine. Whatever happens, whatever mistakes you're going to make, sitting behind the wheel, I'm able to take care of it. But it's you.
So you will be like protecting in case, like you're gonna be stopping the car in case something happened.
Oh, I-
you will take full responsibility.
Absolutely.
Taking action.
Absolutely. Even when they say that to me, I know deep in their mind, they're not 100% confident about what they're saying. Why? Even if they are good or they know how to drive to a certain degree, because they're sitting with a new person for the first time in
Right.
a new car, that's also a factor. So I would say to them, I will allow you to sit there to drive from here because you said you can, and I believe you can. But don't worry, as a backup plan, I've got this magician here, the
Right. pedals. You have the brake pedal.
I
to
can
stop.
step in here if I need to. I won't step in. I will first prompt you to do it yourself. But if I think you don't have enough time to do it to keep us safe and everyone on the road safe, I will help you from
So
this side.
you will be.
And I said to them mentally, you might think I'm sitting here. Mentally, I'm the one there. I'm driving the car at the same time. If I need to adjust the steering because you're about to hit something, I can do it from here. So don't worry about that either. You're going to see a lot of things on the road. Don't worry too much about focus on, and don't try to impress me. Drive the way you will normally drive. Because if you try to impress me, you might overdo certain things and make mistakes. Just feel free. Drive.
just drive and relax.
And relax.
Right. Show me what you're capable to do,
Exactly.
and then I will assist
Then
you.
I will assist you. And I'll say, I'll give you 5 minutes to drive. After 5 minutes, we're going to pull up and have a chat about your drive. And I will take it from there.
So tell me something. So you telling me that in age 17, they're allowed to get that permit
Yes.
to be behind the wheel
Correct.
without knowledge of the rules.
Correct.
What's the next step?
The next step is it depends on the actual learner. If they want to jump in the car straight away, find an instructor to learn with. If they want to learn with their family member, or maybe some of them would think, oh, I'll get the theory out of the way. But I think give me 10 people 8 out of those 10 people will not do the theory before they come to do the practical.
Oh.
Some of them might get the license and not do nothing.
So with that permit, would you allow to go to the test, to the driving test, or you need to complete the knowledge test?
That's a very good question. You're not even allowed to book the practical test if you haven't passed the theory test.
Okay.
So that's why they wait for you. You must pass your theory before you are allowed to book your practical. So whilst they're doing the practice with the instructor,
why are you doing these steps? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, what can I say?
Yeah, it's not your rules.
It's
but
not my
no,
rules.
but usually I think that in that part, Canada is the best on that, because
I agree totally. I agree totally.
You go, you get your G1 knowledge test, you know the knowledge.
I've got, sorry, finish.
Yeah.
You go first.
You got your knowledge, and then after that, so in Canada, let me explain to you what we do, okay? Number one, we get, after we reaching 16,
oh, it's 16 here.
you can apply for the G1 knowledge test, okay? So when you applying for a knowledge test, they give you two options. If you go through the driving school and you complete, it's called MTO program. That means that you have to complete 10 hours of driving lessons in the car, 20 hours, that's going to be school. Now we do online, so it's going to be, you can do from home. There is a 20 hours that you need to get the knowledge from the driving school. And on top of that, you have 10 hours homework. So all together, it's 40 hours. When you complete that, you're allowed to go for the driving test. It's called G2 after 8 months.
After 8 months?
After 8 months. Now, if you didn't go through the driving school, now, what the MTO program gives you also, they give you a discount on the car insurance, for example, because you went through the driving school. They give you at the time that you can save, instead of wait for 1 year, you can go in 8 months. There is many benefits if you're going through the driving school and you complete that, because they know already that you have to take 10 hours. It's not that you can yes or no. There is no monkey business, okay? It's like you have to complete 10 hours. You have to do the homework. You have to be attending to the school or doing online. That's how we do it. And when you reach 16 and 8 months, you can actually go for your driving test. And that's going
G2.
to be G2. Yes. The G2 is just a local test. What is including on G2? They will ask you to do parallel parking, 3-point turn, roadside stop, make sure that you know where to turn the wheel. I don't know what you do, but you will explain to me. Also, in the end of the test, they can ask you to do reverse parking or front parking. That's the maneuvers. But also you have lane changes, traffic lights, stop signs. So they kind of looking about, the test is about like 20 to 15 minutes. It depends on the location, but they want to make sure that you know how to maneuver, how to do maneuvers, how to maintain the car. That's what's going to be on the G2 test. We have another program. After you finish the G2 test, you need to wait for 1 full year to go for the full license, and we call that G test, right? That test is include the highway. So before, we actually had to do 3-point turn and parallel parking and all this stuff on the G test. Now they just decide that it's not necessary and they cut it out. So now if you come from any country and you have, let's say, driving license more than 2 years, and if there is no exchange, you just go for the G test, right? But they give you only one chance. So if you fail, you have to go to the G2, and then you can apply for the full license. So that's the system in Canada. In Ontario specifically, some provinces, they have a little bit harder, much better for drivers to learn more. Ontario is a little bit weak on that, in my opinion. But let me hear.
When you say they're a little bit weak, what do you mean?
So
you mean
I mean that it's much easier to pass the driving test than, let's say, in Vancouver, okay? Because they have a strict. Calgary, they have a different approach. Like we have provinces, right? This beautiful country has provinces, right? So each province, they have their own rules. So, for example, Ontario has different rules than let's say, than Alberta, right? Or than British Columbia. Why? They changed now in Alberta. They said one test is going to be enough, but they're going to check on you everything. So I would prefer that they will ask us to do one test, right? And that test will cover everything. Instead of divide and then wait, and then they kind of trying to give the G2 people the G2 license to buy a car. For example, you can buy a car, you can drive by yourself. So at that moment,
G2.
yes, at that moment, if you pass the test, you're a driver. You don't need anybody to sit beside you, for example, right? Compared to British Columbia, that's different. They are more strict on that. You have to put the sticker. Do you have a stickers in the car that you have to put in the back if you are a new driver or you experienced driver?
It's not compulsory because if you're a learner, you also put L plate on the car.
Yeah.
And the person supervising you, if it's not a qualified instructor,
Yeah.
you has to be minimum 21 years old, and they must have their full license for 3 years.
For 3 years. So we have that for if you, for example, on G1, somebody can teach you if he had 5 years of experience as a full licensed person, right? That's totally different game, right? So also when you come here and you apply for G1, let's say you had a license from your country, from UK, for example. But in UK we have exchange, so you just come here and you exchange the license. But if you come from any, like for example India, what they do, if you have a G1 license, you're not allowed to be on the highway by yourself, only supervised by the driving instructor, nobody else. Does it allow in your country, in UK?
I think what they do in UK is this: if you come from abroad and you're not allowed to swap your license because of the arrangement between those two countries,
Yeah.
you're allowed to come into the country with what they call international driving license.
Right.
With
For
that,
60 days.
no, for us it's 1 year.
1 year? No,
Yes.
here 60 days, you need to apply for the test.
So 1 year you're allowed to drive with that.
Oh, okay.
After 1 year, no, you have to get your full license to continue to drive in the
to
UK.
continue to drive in UK. Okay.
I've got the questions already.
Yes.
The question is about you said they've changed certain things now, like, if someone is 16-year-old, you can get the first license, which is a provisional license.
No, this is a knowledge. You at 16, you can get a knowledge test.
Not even a
G1.
license.
No, G1. G1
So this is
license.
not-
So you can sit, you can drive as a supervised with somebody that has 5 years of experience, or you need to take a lessons.
Right. Okay. So the one that they recommend is to do this package with the driving school.
Right.
But out of that 40 hours package, if I hear you correctly, there's only 10 hours of that involved
Driving lessons.
Driving lessons.
Yes.
But if someone doesn't know how to drive at all,
Continue, take extra.
or they're allowed to take
yeah.
extra.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. No,
okay.
it's not that 10 hours and that's it. No.
Okay.
Some people take 20, some people take 30,
I
right?
see.
As long as you complete the 10 hours. So in the end of the last lesson, the driving instructor is supposed to do a mock test to make sure that you're passing all the qualification to certify you so you can apply, you can get the certificate.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
yes.
it's not that 10 hours and if you didn't learn, whatever. No, you continue to get until you go, until you finish.
So the 10 hours, after that 10 hours, you can get the G2 license. Is
You
that correct?
can, if, so the program allows you to get and apply for the G2 test. Yes.
Oh, so you can go and sit for the test.
That's right.
Right.
So you can go for the test with the driving examiner, right? And you can pass the test or you fail the test, you go again. Another thing that it's in my opinion it's bad in Ontario is every 10 days you can apply for the test. So there is some people, they go 15 times, 10 times until they pass. So instead of properly learn, you have 10 days and you can reapply. That's a little bit like, in my opinion, I don't like that because people are, instead of practice, get better and go in passing one time, they just, okay, Hakuna Matata, I go again. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter.
That happens a lot in the UK.
Yeah, I can go again. Why should I practice? Why should I learn?
They think they're wasting money by learning more.
That's right. So in the end, some people, instead of practice properly and get to the right point and make sure that they know what they're doing, not to be afraid, I would say that people that watching my video and on my channel, they coming back to me even with the full license because they pass, but they didn't drive. So they don't want to jump right away. Do you have that in UK?
Yeah, it's especially with automatic, because it's easier to pass automatic even when you're not fully ready for the road.
So you see, it's that's the thing, right? People, they have a license, they sitting on the license, they renew on the license, but they don't drive. Why? Because they're scared. Because they pass the test, they are happy, but eventually when they sit behind the wheel, they're afraid to drive, right? So my customers, most of my customers, when they call me back and they said, Alex, can you please help me? I want to learn how to drive. I don't want to pass the test. But some people, they don't care about it and they just jumping on the test and they pass, lucky, fail, they go again, right?
So my question again is, I understand the 40 hours mandatory hours you have to do with the driving school with the instructor. And this is for a 16-year-old learner. What if the person didn't do it when they were 16-year-old? They chose to do it when they were like, let's say 25 or 35 years old even. Do they still have to go for this compulsory 40 hours at that age?
You can do it anytime. There is no specifically time for you to go through the driving school.
But you have to do the 40 hours whenever you choose to.
If you're going to, you have to complete the 40 hours to be certified.
Right.
You need to be certified to complete. It's not that you go, you complete half and then another half in another year. The timing that you have to complete the driving school is with 1 year.
Within 1 year.
Because after that, the system will not allow you to register the student and certify.
When you say they've got homework,
yes.
What sort of things
questions about the roads, about the rules, about the signs, and then you need to be. There was gonna be a question that you need to write down and explain what you think, and then so we have driving instructor in the car and we have driving instructor that in class, right? So that person who is in class, he's checking the homework, he's looking for all this information to make sure that he is passing the test to be certified.
So one driving instructor can't do both. You have to choose one.
You can do it. Why not?
Both.
If somebody, for example, has a license, for example, I don't have in-class license, right? And because now there is a system that you can do it online. So somebody that's providing that online course, he has an instructor there that has to be looking and checking and if everything is in order, because Ministry of Transportation, eventually they will come and check the student complete that, right? They can call the student and said, have you been in that class? It's your name, you signing the paper, right? I don't know if you heard, there was somebody was trying to sell the certificates, and there was like marketplace, they were looking for these people that driving instructors just trying to make money on it. They start stopping doing that because it's scam, right? So some people come to you, let's say, and they said, can you sell me driving certificate, right? But it has to go through the driving school. So they were trying to find who does that, and they actually did. Some driving schools, they were doing illegally certifying just for the money, right? So, but it happened, right? And when it happened, they tried to change that. Right? So now online you cannot cheat because person who sits in front of the computer, he actually have to be in front of the computer, because they know if you're not moving computer, if you don't answering the questions, that means that you're not there, right?
Is it more lucrative to do the in-car instructor or the classroom instructor? Which one makes more money?
Which one makes more money? Instructor that in car makes more money because it's one-on-one. In class, there is going to be 30 students, right? 20 students. So the person who teach, he gets paid by the hour, right? So another thing that, like, this instructor who is in the class, he also will be instructor in the car.
Oh, I see.
You understand? Both. They do both, right?
So
I don't know. What about UK?
We don't do anything like that.
You don't have that, right? You don't have that system. So that system it's kind of proof that, and why they did that. Before that, a kid from the high school go and pass the test, for example. No knowledge. There was lots of accidents. So they introduced this program to make sure that this person who get his knowledge test, he doesn't go right away and get the license, because he's still young, right? He doesn't know what he's doing. He's like 16 years old behind the wheel, make a decision. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why they introduced this, to make sure that people are not rushing just to jumping and going for the test, but they can drive. They can drive with the parents, they can drive with the driving instructor. You understand what I'm saying? So what I want to ask you, so you don't have anything like that?
No.
When is the first time, let's say your learner pass the knowledge test, when he can apply for the test?
The practical test?
The driving test.
I'm not entirely sure what is the waiting time now. I think it will be about 14 days, thereabout.
That's it?
Yeah.
So after the knowledge test, he can, if he find the appointment, he can go and get the test.
All right, yeah.
That's what you're saying. So it all depends on the appointments.
It all depends on the availability of the appointment.
That's
which
right,
takes you to a different topic.
Okay.
So the different topic will be in UK, because of COVID or the pandemic at the time, there's a problem with booking driving tests.
Yeah.
A very long waiting list.
Period. Yeah.
That problem still persists to today.
Until
UK.
now.
Until now.
Until now, you still have a problem.
Oh, wow.
We clean up like that, no problem. We already gone of that, right?
Oh, wow.
But
in
if
UK,
yeah.
if I decide to do my test today, go online to book, possibly, what month are we now? March.
Right.
You probably will get something. You'll be very lucky to get something in August.
Are you serious?
Very lucky to get something. And if you're going to get something in August, probably will not be your preferred test center. It might be you have to travel out of your city to get one. You might be lucky every now and then.
Did they allow you to drive to the different city to go for the test?
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't need to be in your area?
It doesn't. You can't go to as far as 10 hours drive away. It doesn't matter to them.
No problem, eh? We have the same thing, and people going and looking for easy places to pass. And then when they come back to Toronto, they're scared to drive. They pass the test, right? Because there was nothing happen, and it's much easier. But when they come to Toronto, that is not what I was expecting to. So this is another thing that they were talking about, that why people that live in Toronto, they go 5 hours away from Toronto to pass easy test. So in your, like, you have the same thing in UK, the same thing.
Yes, I've heard people saying that they will go to somewhere, maybe we call it countryside, where there are few people that lives around the community, because there's a lot of farmers, and it's
easy to pass. Less traffic lights, less roundabouts.
That's what they say. I don't know about that because I don't live in that community, and I don't know how easy. Maybe because they say less traffic, less hazard to deal with and stuff like that. Maybe less of traffic light, maybe just roundabout here and there. Maybe yes, but I've never actually gone into this area to see. If I go there and I check the test route, I can compare and say, oh yeah, definitely that should be a lot easier. Yeah.
Now, question for you. So when your learners going for the test, what's the requirement? Do you have a parallel parking that you have to do?
I see.
Do you have to do, what's the maneuvers included? What examiner ask?
In my opinion, from 2017, I think it was in the month of December, where they had this last massive change in the driving test, the test has become a lot easier. I'm saying that from the instructor point of view. The learners will have different opinion, especially the one that didn't pass the first or second attempt. Of course,
they will say it's harder, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, especially when it comes to the maneuvering, yes, we still have parallel parking.
Okay.
Since December 2017, turn in the road, 3-point turn has been taken off.
No 3-point turn?
Nope.
Okay.
We also have something that we call reversing around the corner, which serve a kind of the same purpose for turning the road or 3-point turn. That's been taken out as well. So, but we still have bay parking, what you do like you're parking in the supermarket like this. Oh, sorry, parking lots.
You mean the front parking, drive in, right?
Driving or reverse in. Like
Okay.
this is front. No, that guy is reversing. So
Right.
one of those reversing in.
So that's examiner will ask you.
Yes. Or they
Yes.
ask you to forward park in the bay.
Okay. The bay means in the angle or straightforward? So let's say
Straightforward.
Straightforward. Okay.
They prefer straightforward.
Okay. Okay. What else?
The fourth one is when they ask you to, we drive on the left.
Right.
For some strange reason, they introduced this in 2017. They'll ask you to park on the right side of the road and reverse the car for 2-car length, and that's it. You just need it to be reasonably close to the curb.
So you need to be on oncoming traffic,
Yes.
and you need to reverse back.
2-car length and
2-car
stay
length.
close to the curb. That's it.
What happens if there is a traffic coming?
You wait.
Okay, tell me something. I see in UK, like some of YouTubers that driving instructors, you have, it's called emergency stop.
Correct.
What exactly like emergency stop means in your in UK style? What do you need to do?
So-
Why is it actual on the test?
Is it what?
Is it actual on the test? The examiner asks you to do that?
So the way to think about it is, when you're baking a cake, right?
Right.
You can have your cake without the icing on it.
Okay.
So emergency stop, this is what I like to say, is the icing on the cake.
Up next,
Yes, I've come from the UK and I think I want to take up this challenge of driving in Canada for the first time and having a mock test done to see if I happens to be a student in Canada today, would I be able to pass the test? So he's going to give his honest feedback at the end of the mock test to see how well I've done. I'll give it my best shot. Hopefully I can pass.